I've had about 4 of them or 5. Yeah, there was a gallery in Atlanta that I did a show for like 6 weeks there, and then had a show in Malibu when we were living out there, and then I did a couple in Connecticut, and yeah, so now there's one hanging, a small, like part of a broader show in Toronto at True West Galleries, and yeah, so. But this is like the first one in New York. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, I've been painting I started painting about 23 years ago. So, you know what? It wasn't about drawing. I mean, it was more about just whatever feeling I would get from seeing a painting, you know. And so, at first, I was always attracted to sort of more like the iconographic pre-Renaissance paintings like Giotto and the colors and the blues that he would get and so those colors would really and shapes would elicit a strong reaction. And I remember being in Japan and like there was all these really cool books there. I was in Japan for the first time and I just started buying them. And actually our bass player Johnny Colt bought me for Christmas because we all came home from Shake Your Moneymaker and we had wanted to get everyone big presents, and he bought me like an easel and 5 canvases and all the paints and brushes. I mean, it just like came to my house, and I really credit him. It sat there for about a year because I was like intimidated. I'm like, I don't even want to touch it, but then I started, and it was really cool, and it was just another outlet that kind of brings peace. Well, Mick Fleetwood bought a couple of pieces, which was nice. Yeah, he came to the Malibu show and bought a couple, which was really sweet. Yeah, I mean the way that I work in music and when I paint, it's more like I like to see what's going to happen. I don't go in with like a specific an idea. I don't go in and like I'm going to write the really like a hard rock song or whatever. It just kind of whatever happens, and so how it comes. And then as that's unfolding, that's what I love about the creative process. And it's the same thing with paint, just touching paint to a surface and then seeing where it goes from there. And then how these colors and these shapes and these things will elicit certain feelings from me, and then how I can go from there, and then it takes its own form and shape, Yeah, that was definitely the first time I married. I had that painting and I thought it was really cool, and we were talking about it, and my friend Josh Schuss, who shot the photos and put together the package, was like, why don't we use that painting? And it's like, all right, cool. Didn't take much nudging, I suppose. Someone came up with that word. Paper in particular was reimagined because it was destroyed in Hurricane Sandy or what. Yeah, I had everything there. So I lost, I don't know, a lot of guitar, maybe 50 guitars or something. I don't know however many were in there, 60. Well, I was living in Atlanta at the time, so, the hurricane hit, everything was, was what it was, and I didn't think about it. And then about maybe a week in, I was like, I called my friend Doug and was like, do you think that our storage place got hit? Because I started seeing reports about New Jersey in particular, and he was like, let me find out. And then he went down there, and it was a full hazmat suit, 7 feet of seawater, everything in there was under seawater. And so the tapes were destroyed. I mean, we had a lot of tapes in there too. We had Jimmy Page and the Crows at the Greek, the Masters in there. And so there was a lot of stuff in there. And all of it was pretty much destroyed, and I was able to have about 5 guitars restored. No, I kind of believe that stuff holds energy, and being in the Black Crowes wasn't fun a lot of the time. It was kind of not cool and dark a lot of times. From a band standpoint, when we get on the stage, it was great, but when we were just trying to exist in that sort of familial environment was not that cool. And so, and when you're around it, a lot of times that whatever the association is can attach itself to your things. And so I almost felt a sense of relief sometimes, because it's wood with strings on it. And realistically, it's great to have sentimental attachment. It's great to have, that was the first guitar I played or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, it's still wood, and it happened, and there's nothing I can do about it. So it's kind of felt almost like a relief and a start over. When I made it, it was my first solo record, and I'd been in what they call, a lot of people say this, but that you're in a submarine for 12 years, and because when you're in a band like that, we toured every year. We either toured or made a record, and it was constant, just in this bubble with these same people, and just this thing. And so to get out and have the freedom to do whatever I wanted to do, and make this record was great. But I feel like I bit off a little more than I can chew, because I produced it and wrote it and sang and played bass and guitar and and all that stuff, and mixed it. And I didn't really know what I was doing mixing wise. And me and my engineer, who's a great engineer, he and I tried to mix it together. But there's a lot more to it than we thought. So it was something I'd always wanted to do anyway. I'm like, man, when I get the chance, I really want to remix that record. And so we luckily, had the chance. So we went in to, when the tapes came, a friend of ours restored the tapes. And when they came up, while I was making this newest record that's coming out, whatever, we put them on, and there were no vocals on there. But the recordings sounded great. So we were so happy with it. We were like, wow, this sounds like we remember it, And but there were no vocals, and I was kind of okay with that. I was like, well, I'll just re-sing it, and I had to write some songs. There was about 3 songs on there that I'd never finished, so I had to write those. Yeah, so it was cool. Yeah, those were remastered. We added some songs on there. There's some really cool unreleased live versions of songs that were on there. And Llama Blues was never. We only made 1,000 of them, and it was just. While I was making that record, I'd had this one song that didn't necessarily fit. But I liked it, and I just had this idea to do something goofy, cool, whatever. Go into a vocal booth with one mic, and my drummer and I were in the same room, just recording it live, like the basic tracks live like that. And so that's what happened. And so I had always wanted to put it out on vinyl, because I thought it was a really cool thing. And luckily I was able to do it. So we, remastered it for vinyl and put that out. So that's as is, but it was the first time it was released on vinyl, and it sounds a little cooler. Just more, I guess it's the thing that was always cool, that I always appreciated about Led Zeppelin 3 is it had these acoustic guitars with these big ass drums on them. You know what I mean? And so this record has an element of that, and there's some songs that have a lot more piano than there used to be. It's just to me, it's eclectic, but it fits within its own sphere, and that's what I love about it. I went in when I made the Ceaseless Sight. It was I had some pretty firm ideas, and then I had some parts, and then I did the songs. I wrote the songs in the studio. This time I went in with barely anything. I'm just going to see what happens. And I had a little bit of some parts here or there, but I just wanted to use that energy in the studio to see what happened. Yeah, I made 4 or 5. Yeah, I think 5, yeah. The Crows made 2 records up there. The first was at the studio called A Lair, which was gorgeous. It was on top of a mountain, and it was like in this old estate that these people built. And so we all just lived in the studio and recorded there. And it was amazing. And that was after a few times that I'd spent in Woodstock. When I was living in New York, my wife and I would go up there. And so then we made a record at Levon's, where we did basically 2 weeks of rambles, where we just invited an audience to come watch us record the record, new stuff. Oh, and then my drummer Joe, who's a good friend of mine, was like, "Oh, these guys at Applehead Studios, you should go up there. It's a really cool place." And so I was like, "All right." I went up and checked it out, and it was amazing. It was, 12 acres. There was llamas there. They have a 600-pound pig named Dolores, I think. And Rick Danko used to live on the property. The person who built Levon's barn built this place. So there's a lot of history there. Really cool gear, and Mike and Chris, who run the place, are amazing. So I went up there, and I just have a connection with it. So I've been back for 3 records and 2 EPs. So, hey, my name's Rich Robinson. I'm going to play a couple of songs. This one's off paper. It is called 'Cause You're With Me. When it's all that it seems, when you stumble across the line, you call upon the forces, then I bring you into my light. But you've got all I need, though we could live so beautifully. And I don't know where this will lead, though, but it's okay, 'cause you're with me. Climb up through the deep depths of the darkest space and time. Call upon the forces, then I bring you into my light. But you've got all I need, though we could live so beautifully. And I don't know where this will lead, though, but it's okay, 'cause you're with me. It's okay, 'cause you're with me. It's okay, 'cause you're with me.
Thanks for watching Nights with Alice Cooper presents Behind the Interview with Rich Robinson. Make sure to get Through a Crooked Sun, which you can buy at richrobinson.net. If you want to see more of his acoustic set, make sure to catch him on tour. And if you want to take a piece of Rich Robinson home with you, I keep his pinky in a jar on my shelf. Go to richrobinson.net to browse and buy original paintings or to find out when the Robinson Gallery is coming your way.
Alice Cooper, 15 seconds to curtain, Mr. Cooper.
Ready whenever you say, Scooter.
Wow, I was good looking.
Sir, I think there's something you should know.
Yes?
These monsters aren't ours.
I know. They're mine.
You know, doing the Muppet Show, the very first, my very first thought of it was, I can't do the Muppet Show. I'm the scariest guy in the world. I had just built my reputation that I was that. And I watched the show all the time. It was my favorite.